Hi, hello, and welcome to or welcome back to Verso. I'm So, and this will be a continuation of the fic Drakes Spoiled Brat. I'm Sorry Dad by Yellow Sprouts. Chapter 5 Doctor's Orders. The stinking smell of alcohol made Tim's eyes water, but he couldn't move away. The fumes seemed to fill the small space of the room, no good way of ventilating out. He was forced to endure. That only lasted so long, the smell only adding onto the flurry of uncomfortable sensations. He winced, unable to hold back a shuddering breath at the sudden pain in his thigh. Regardless of whatever sedative concoction he's been given, it only managed to ease a tiny bit of the almost unbearable sensation that was a sharp prick of metal piercing deep into his very flesh. Oh, what Tim slammed his hand against his mouth, letting out a harsh breath as the needle threaded back out of his skin. Leslie looked overall unimpressed at his reaction, probably still aggravated at the fact he decided to sleep off actively bleeding wounds. Then again, he did come to the very next day instead of after infection had already set in. Small victories. You're lucky I gave you anything, since you refused to get an on-record prescription, she said, her thick Jersey accent coming full forward in annoyance as she pulled at the thread, expertly weaving it into an intricate knot. You know, for a lady in later age, she did not have the lax temper of an older woman, but he respected that about her. Lucky me. Tim winced as she took out a spray bottle of medical alcohol and spritzed it on the wound. Better than the champagne. I'd gone more than 3 weeks without seeing your face. I was starting to think you finally got your act together. Leslie scooted her chair away and tossed her gloves in the bin. Well, I live to disappoint, Tim said, looking down at his now stitched-up tie. Apparently, getting showered with glass isn't half bad, but the slipping on alcohol and falling into glass was the kicker. Leslie continued, cleaning up around the cleaning room. This one that was, of course, private, lacking any security cameras in or out, aka an Oracle blind spot. But she was still insistent on keeping it nice, even if it was only ever Tim who used it. Now, I expect you know the drill, or do you need a reminder? She clarified. Nope, it's about as ingrained in my brain as your coffee order. Speaking of which, you don't have to bring me bribery coffee every time you get injured. Tim's eyes wandered to the now empty coffee cup in the trash. Yeah, no. Leslie's mad about his tomfoolery was one thing, but a tired dog putting up with his stuff, he'd rather say hello to Batman on a stalking mission. The trash can lid shut with an audible snap as the doctor turned heel to face Tim, a hand on her hip as she glowered at him. Tim, I want you to look me in the eyes and promise you will stay nothing more than a CEO for at least a week, Leslie ordered. Right. Though he never admitted to being down with vigilante activities for plausible deniability, she wasn't an idiot. He assumed she found out within the first few months. Now that there's dance around the topic, considering she also treated Cardinal. It would suck, but he was used to taking the more tech side, and besides, sitting at his computer was restful enough for the minimal injuries he had. He could do a week. Timothy, Leslie said impatiently. Tim shuddered, Please, of all people, don't call me that. She nodded, but continued to glare down on him until his shoulders slumped. Okay, fine. I promise I will not plan any extracurricular activities that would further aggravate my injuries. Happy? I'll be happy when you come back in a week and a half to get your stitches out, and I do not see a single thread torn. That's a big ass, dog, Tim said as he picked up his bag from the floor and hefted it onto his uninjured shoulder, which he apparently now had. Whoops. It's really not. Oh, you wound me. At this point, I seem to be the only person in Gotham who doesn't wound you. Leslie snapped back. Damn, it was really bittersweet having someone who could match him on comebacks. Tim snickered, thanking the doctor as she escorted him down the hall of the clinic and out towards the secret exit, which was really just the connecting path to the warehouse next door he could slip out of. But right before he left, a hand landed on the shoulder, making him freeze and turn back to the doctor. Her hand was steady, resting but not squeezing. His skin broke out into goosebumps the moment he registered the contact. Tim, listen to me for a second. You know I became a doctor because I saw how Gotham was a city that died. Oh fuck. She was showing emotions. Abort! But it's also a city so full of love for the hurting, she said with an expression he couldn't identify. He hated it. You are a self-sufficient and mature young man, but I seen many like you leave my doors, and I ended up needing to iron out my black pantsuit. Nice fucking job. You made her worried. Sure, it wasn't on purpose, and he got the brute force of the big free-ass champagne towers, but he was always running back to her with his fuck-ups. She deserves better. Hey, I can see you doing this part thing. Knock it off. Leslie snapped the fingers a foot away from his face. Tim flashed a weak smile. I know I can be concerning, but I'm fine, Doc. I haven't dropped dead yet. Apparently, that was the wrong thing to say, as her shoulder dropped. Look, all I'm asking you to be more open to more. You need more. He blinked. What do you mean? Gotham is hell on earth. I'll be the first one to admit it. From the insurers to cover every villain of the week, the bipolar weather that's prone to acid showers, and whatever's wrong with the harbor, it's not a go-to destination. She put her other hand on his shoulder, and Tim could feel his knees weaken just a bit. But it's home, isn't it? He nodded. What else he could do? But she was right. Gotham was a shit show and a half, even with Tim's foresight intervention. It wasn't fixed, just not as fucked up as it could be. The whole reason Gotham hasn't become a ghost town or eaten itself from inside out is because of the community. Leslie's odd expression turned into a small smile. I remember being a little girl in Gotham. My neighbor's house was lit on fire by one of the first rogues to ever walk the streets. They lost everything, but by a miracle they made it out alive. I remember my mother got the call. She ushered me into the kitchen and we raided our stock of canned goods. I passed my father and brother carrying out the old tent. Tim hung on every word, leaning in just a bit as she continued with almost nostalgic expression. When I went outside, my arm supported as many jars as I could carry. We ran into neighbor after neighbor, each marching with a purpose to help out. That family made it, but only because everyone rallied together and gave them hope. Leslie coughed to herself. Of course, that was a long time ago. Gotham has changed and so has its people, but it doesn't mean it's unrecognizable. That's what being Gotham it is. It's knowing the very place you live is shit, but hoping for just one more good day. Leslie turned back to Tim and raised one hand from his shoulder and slowly patting down some stray hairs. "You're a good boy, forced to be a man far too young. You have lost so much and yet hope for more. You are the spirit of Gotham, Tim." Well, now he was most definitely tearing up. "All I ask of you is don't let that spirit die. Find your community. Lord knows you've gone long enough on so little." Tim chuckled, though it felt a bit wet. "Doctor's orders?" Leslie smiled and let go, ruffling his hair as she stepped outside, no longer blocking him in the door. "Doctor's orders, then. Though I'll admit a bit more difficult than not tearing some stitches, but you're capable enough." Tim took the opportunity and shifted away, placing his hand on the door and opening it with a loud creak. He turned to meet Leslie's gaze, and her face now showing nothing more than a grandmotherly smile and a teasing amusement. "I promise," Tim said, and this time he meant it. "Good boy," she smiled. "Now scrum, so I can get to work." Tim laughed, but obliged, and slipped through the door and into the darkness on the other's end. God, curse him and his weakness for the people he cared about. Leslie may be right that Gotham functioned on community, but Tim had done without by choice. He did have one, but he lost it. Now for the sake of that community that was better off without him, Tim had to work alone. Besides, if she wanted a metaphor, look no further than the original vigilante duo Mr. I Work Alone Batman and his Robins. If anyone or anything represented hope in a place as fucked as Gotham, it was Robin. A symbol, a namesake of more than one person, though of course it started with Dick, a legacy born from tragedy to soar in a whole new way. Robin was magic, but of course this time he wasn't the privileged to wear the colors. Well, it was for the greater good anyway. It was bright outside. Weird for Gotham, but nice nonetheless. Still cloudy as always though, but that was inescapable. Definitely better than the night before at last. Lucius has taken pity, and did not in fact force him to deal with Mr. Isbell any time soon. So again, small victories. But it seemed Leslie had done him the favor of texting the man on his behalf, and now he was banned from the office. Despite pleading his case, that was one of the things he was allowed to do. Lucius snapped back with, "Timothy Drake should be in bed, bedridden by a paper cut," which, fuck you, was fair. Then again, it did mean Tim had the rest of his day to himself. A beautiful day nonetheless. That meant he could get some real work done. Tim pressed on, dodging a few pedestrians and a gangly old cat trailing behind her owner. He approached his target, right on the edge of the Narrows. There stood a building, nestled between several other storefronts. On the right, a leopard and tourniquet-themed boutique. Cookie cutter, if you ignored the fashionable gas masks and antidote canisters. And on the left, a room-for-rent law agency. The middle building was what interested him the most. From the Colorful metal furniture just outside, with chairs attached to the bottoms, the concrete below, and the bright blue awning, it stood out in more than one way. The red open sign stared him in the face as he pressed the palm of his hand against the glass. A small bell sounded as he stepped onto the hardwood flooring, and the AC washed over him. Tim barely had a chance to get his bearings before a whistle-toned voice called out. Morning, Alan. The usual, I guess?" He turned to the barista on the other end of the counter, a short girl with a dirty blonde bob half tied up, her uniform blue paw print top and black overalls tie, apron half unbuttoned. She plants a stir stick in one hand but quickly tucked it in her pocket as she smiled him. "Morning, Gwen. Yeah, I'll take the usual. Extra hot though. It's been a long day." Alan flashed a smile, speaking in his best Gotham twang. Gwen didn't miss a beat. "You'll be ready in a minute. Yeah, the usual seat is open." Alan thanked her and quickly let the cafe door shut behind him as he made his way towards the two-seat table in the far right corner, pressed between one of the larger bookshelves and the glass. Tim snatched at his wig, a shaggy light brown, but the best money could buy for a last-minute disguise. Timothy Drake wouldn't be caught dead anywhere beyond Upper Gotham, but Alan Draper was usual at the Sleepy Kitten Cafe. The one place that hand-grounded beans and didn't threaten to kick him out after his fifth cup of coffee within just a few hours there. It was perfect. What? Despite what Leslie thinks, Tim does have people, of course, under an alias and at an arm's length, but he would have gone mental had he only gotten along with Timothy Drake's crowd for the past 12 years. Alan Draper was an alias in his past life, utilized in quite a few undercover integrated cases. And one of his favorites since it was fairly simple and he got to rock the same cool piercings. So, when he finally decided the risk of being caught as Alan Draper and explained away as Timothy Drake wanting some privacy in Gotham, he was quick to build a second life. Alan actually works for Drake Industries as a developer and property manager, which helped explain away his appearance at many Drake-owned properties and affiliates. There you go, 2 extra large hot cinema matte shadows with X-strobe and exposure shot each, Tim announced as she approached. 2 large ceramic mugs in hand that she placed onto the table, quickly covering one with a lid. 2? Alan asked, with a smirk as he grabbed the non-lidded one and took a sip, savoring the sweet taste that helped even out the otherwise bitter drink. "We ain't too busy right now, but we both know you'll end up done with the first cab in less than 5, unless you want me to take it back." Gwen made a show of reaching forward in slow motion and laughing when Alan quickly pulled the second cup closer. Nope, you know best. 2 cups of the bad is a blessing in disguise, I imagine." He laughed back and placed the cups aside, reaching into his bag and pulling out a laptop adorned with dozens of anime and other cartoonish stickers. "Oh, I recognize that one. Isn't that Obsidian's art? I didn't know they started selling stickers." Gwen pointed to one character from a popular TV show a decade or so back. Alan smiled. "Oh, yeah. You remember the commission piece for the art show last summer? Well, just got them into contact with a good manufacturer in Bloodhaven and had the honor of being their first customer." Gwen beamed. Another bell-like laugh as she instinctively smoothed out her apron. Damn, and no text to me? A shame. I swear, you're an angel yet to reveal your disguise. Speaking of angels, you coming to the charity action coming up? All proceeds go to the shelter. I wouldn't dream of missing it, Alan said with a hand over his chest. Their conversation was cut short by the bell ringing as a small group of teenagers stepped into the coffee shop, happily looking around and beginning to make their way over to the counter. Duty calls. Enjoy your drinks and let me know if you're hungry later. Zeke made a staff meal, but I can steal some fries on your behalf. Gwen didn't wait for a reply as she scurried back behind the counter and greeted the new clients with a beaming smile. Tim watched her leave with a smile and quickly reached over to his laptop. Pressing the power button, a small prick as his own DNA was registered. His blood pressure was deemed safe levels, doctor's orders. Then there was a small boot-up screen. The screen opened to the Google homepage. Quickly swapping tabs, he plugged his headphones in as he switched over to YouTube, putting on a compilation of video essays he had saved. The latest being the breakdown of the uprising and downfall of Scientology. But right as the headsets connected and the video began, Tim pressed the mute button, still leaving his headphones connected. Reaching back into his backpack and pulling out a glasses case, a pair of black, white-rimmed frames were fixed onto his face, and he turned back to the screen. The tech inside glasses activated and synced up with his laptop, the true display revealing a pure black screen with dozens upon dozens of red illuminated tabs. A map of Gotham including dozens of small dots, each color-coded purpose. Alice, informants, and his own family, all on display. Seemed Jason and Dick were headed to the gym together. There was a chart wanting Oracle and the other Gotham base or affiliated hackers movement, though any network connection to Gotham, it seemed to be pretty slow, but it was still early in the day. Even a direct link to both BAT and League of Assassins database systems, filtering and reporting through relevant information and sorting it to be glanced over later, or when necessary. Swiping each of those tabs aside, he glanced at the laptop's base background. A small red bird icon lay completely still in the far left corner. He clicked and it began to move, shifting forward until the entire screen was covered in the same red color. A textbook appeared. Welcome, Cardinal. 14 new priority messages and updates available. Click now. Tim clicked. Cardinal began his workday. Author notes. Tim gives off sassy, spicy kitten vibes. Dr. Leslie. If I weren't well beyond my youth, I would adopt you myself. But since that's not the case, quick scaring away your potential new family. Tim. No. Also, Gwen is our minimum wage, excluding the money Tim secretly wires to her bank account, Barista Queen. And that'll be all. I am so sorry, first off, for the accent I gave Leslie. I tried. Let me tell you, I tried. Yeah, that would be it. And I'm sorry it took so long. If you notice, I got a pop filter. I hope you can hear it. I'll try to use it more consistently because I had it, but I didn't use it. But stupid. I just listened through some of the others. You can really hear there is one. Well, I'm yapping too much. Good night. Good day. I will probably go record something more. Bye.